All right. I am excited to kick this off. I know you guys have very often heard from me on social media, but this is going to be different. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to start from the beginning and do some foundational work before we get to part two, which is going to be more like, how do I find trending audio? How do I do social media, right? We're going to start with some more foundational work so that instead of like throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping something sticks, we're actually going to increase our professionalism. So that's one of the things that is our goal for you guys is feeling like you're actual professionals. You have a plan and you know what you're doing. And so that's where we're going to start with social media today. So if you were at the VP retreat, you've seen some of this. If you were not, that's perfect. But the slideshow is from that. So we're going to kind of jump around a little bit. And I'm going to share my screen so that you guys can see what I'm talking about. So if you do not already have the two worksheets, don't panic, but we'll get those to you afterwards. It's just a little bit easier to do the work you need to do. Okay, so here's kind of where we're going. We're going to talk about you. Who are you on social media and why? So that you're doing it on purpose instead of, again, just like throwing some crap at the wall and hoping something works. Because I feel like you guys know I've run my business entirely virtual for 7 years now, and I have done a lot of hoping something would work, just see what happens, a lot of that. And that can be very successful, right? That's like a lot of ignorance on fire, like how many of us started Arbonne in general. But I'm getting to the place where I would rather have a plan. And there are people now who can tell us what the plan could be. When we first started doing this stuff on social media, I don't think anyone knew what they were doing, but now there are people who do know what they're doing and they can share with us so we don't have to kind of fumble around anymore. So we're going to start with you. We're going to talk about who your audience is. Not today, but next time in part two, we're going to talk about your content, execution, annoying little stuff, and then have some time for giving you guys help that you might need. So let's talk about you and who are you on social media. So I call this the 4 V's. It's your values, your voice, your vibe, and your vision. So values. Everybody is like, well, of course, I'm kind and I'm helpful and I'm encouraging. That's all true, right? All of us are those things. We're great people. We already know this. But every one of us has values that are higher occurring than others. So if you know me, one of my highest values is probably truth telling or being direct. That is going to hit much higher for me than something like being nice. I would never say being nice is one of my top values. I believe in being kind, but that is not going to hit my top 3. You're really just looking for what are your top 3 so that your content is cohesive, because this is almost out of your control. You're going to be who you're going to be. So another one of my top 3 is probably earnestness. I don't intend to be earnest, but I think looking back at my posts when I'm in my feelings, you can tell, and it lends itself to that, right? So that might be one of my top 3 as well. So it's not that you're not all of those other amazing values. It's just that your personality is going to really lead with some big values. So figuring out what do you think those are. You don't necessarily need to spend a ton of time thinking about it because, like I said, those will almost come across without you intending it. But if you do know what they are, you can lean into that a little bit because that is how people who love you will find you. So one of the things I say is you love me, you just don't know it yet. You have to be yourself so the people who are going to love you will find you. Your voice is very similar, but it's not so much value driven. It's just how do you talk? Do you use the F word? We all know that I do, right? Some of you would absolutely never. How do you speak? Why do you speak about the things you speak about? What is your tone? That's what your voice is. Your vibe is the energy. It's really, really, really close to voice. But every time you do something, you are putting out an energy. And I 100% believe that people can feel it through the computer. I can completely feel people's energy through the computer. So Seth is always making fun of me. He's like, why are you smiling when you're sending messages? And I'm like, I do it on purpose because I think people can feel the difference between it's the end of the month and I'm desperation sending messages because I haven't done FL all month. And oh my gosh, I really believe that you're going to be excited to know that your favorite protein is on sale or whatever the thing is that I'm telling them, right? I believe 1,000,000% people can feel your energy through the screen, even if you do not want them to. So that's kind of a place where I like to make my content when my energy is good. I don't always make it in the moment anymore because I do feel different energy at different times of the month, whatever's going on. So I like to be prepared and do it when the energy is good because I think people can feel that. And then your vision. What is your vision? Because your social media, whichever platforms you're using, are the legacy of what you're sharing. They are what you want people to know about you and how you want people to feel. So you need to have a vision of what that looks like. And we're going to talk about that. If you guys have the orange worksheet, what that looks like. So we're going to skip the audience part for right now. So if you have this orange worksheet, grab that, and we are going to play off of what Shannon taught us. So Shannon taught you about picking your 5 pillars, why you're picking them, what you're doing. This is a way to use those 5 pillars and to go through and say, what is this really about? Because it's never about the thing that we say it is. There's always a lot underneath that's the foundation of what it is. And you want people to feel a certain way. So for every pillar, I think through, what is my goal with this pillar? So one of my pillars is wellness. That is generic as heck, right? I know what I mean by that. That might be too generic for you. Your pillar might be something like thriving over 40. I run an entirely separate Instagram account for that. Just like Shannon runs an entirely separate Instagram account for her over 50 group, right? You might be more specific, but in any case, looking at what is your goal. So my goal in all my wellness content is to build a foundation of clients. That's my internal goal. That's not my outward facing goal. You also need an outward facing goal. So what is that really about for me? I want a ton of PCs. That's what I want. Tons and tons and tons and tons of PCs. I also want tons of consultants, but I stick that in the business category instead. What it's really about for me is building healthier families. I want to know that when they come in contact with us, one of our programs with Arbonne, we are teaching them things that change their family's health, because I desperately believe that America needs to change their family's health. So that's what that's really about for me. What's the story that I'm telling? I want to be empowering. So my story is, you can do this. So all of my content under my wellness, I want to be educational. I want people to leave feeling like, oh, that's more simple than I thought it was. Or, oh, I can take one step that makes a difference. I can make sustainable shifts instead of fad dieting. I can impact the future of my family. That's how I want people to feel when they're looking at my wellness content. And then what goes underneath this pillar? So for me, all of our nutrition programs, anything I can teach about that, all of our products, pretty much everything, because I'm really connected to what is the mission of Arbonne, health from the inside out. Every single product we have falls under that mission. That all goes underneath this pillar for me. Any kind of habit and routine I talk about is a wellness thing for me. All kinds of health related chat. So when there's something trending like that lettuce chips thing or something like that, that goes underneath this for me. Education, community, events, all of those things go underneath my wellness pillar. My second pillar is business. What is my goal? Obviously, I want to add to my team. That's my internal goal. You also need an outward facing goal. What is that really about? Helping people see if this is a good fit for them. Because I'm somebody who thought this business was not for me. I 1,000,000% thought I was too special and too good for this. I want to talk to people who feel that way. That's my niche here, right? Is I really want to talk to people who think that this is not for them and give them that pause that's like, oh, whoa, maybe this is for me. I hadn't thought about it that way. That's my business goal. Your business goal and what it's really about for you might be entirely different. And it probably is entirely different depending on your story. So what's the story I want to tell? I want to tell them that they deserve choices. I've already worked full-time. I've been a full-time working mom. I've been a part-time working mom. I've been a plain old stay-at-home mom. I've been a homeschooling mom. I have done many of the categories that are available to you when you're a parent. And what I can tell you is, I love what we have here because of the choices it gives me. Both time, both money, both friendships, the community, the things I've been introduced to. That's the story I want to tell, is that you deserve choices and Arbonne is a way to get it. I don't want to say that out loud. I don't want to say that so blatantly, but that's what I want you to feel like. And so what goes underneath that? All the things you see listed, right? Same deal. Personal life. The goal is a memory album for me. What it's really about is reminding people I'm a human so that it's not all Arbonne content all the time. I want people to know that I love my freaking family, right? Story I'm telling, I live on my priorities by loving my people hard. What goes underneath that pillar for me? You can see that: kids, marriage, friends, homeschooling, all of that. And then I put SASS as one of my pillars because it's a catch-all category for me mouthing off about what I want to mouth off about. This is where I'm going to show my personality more, right? So my goal is to show my personality. What is that really about? Finding my people and letting my people find me. You're never going to be able to bury who you actually are. They'll join the business. And if you're pretending to be someone you're not, they will know that pretty early on, and they're not going to be happy with you, and you're not going to be happy with them. The fastest way to make yourself miserable in this business is to be pretending to be someone you're not. People are always going to see who you really are. So put it out there so that the people who will love being around you find you. That's my goal. I want people on my team to freaking love being around us. I don't want anyone to feel like they thought it was this thing and then it's not this thing because you pretended to be somebody you're not, right? I want them to be like, every retreat we go on is the best thing we've ever done. You're hilarious. This is super funny. I think you're smart. I think you're a good leader, right? Because I haven't pretended to be something that I'm not going to be able to give them. There's a lot of things I will not be able to give people. I completely acknowledge that about myself. I don't want them to be disappointed. I may as well just be who I am. Save us both the time and trouble. Story I'm telling, you love me, you just don't know it yet. What goes underneath this for me, things that are funny, memes, live videos, any of that. So I'm not going to do all of the pillars, but I want you guys to take a minute and start thinking through these questions. Under every pillar, what is your goal? What is it really about? What's the story you're trying to tell? And then what could go underneath that pillar for you? What kind of content goes underneath that pillar for you? I'm going to give you guys like 3 to 5 minutes. And while you're at it, put some stuff in the chat about what you're finding. Like, what is your goal? What do you want to do? Oh, Shannon says she just has one account. Sorry, I thought you had 2 accounts like I did. Never mind. Doesn't really make any difference. I actually agree with her that one account is probably for the best. Okay, I'm going to give you guys 1 more minute. Okay, so we are going to move on to talking a little bit about who your ideal audience is now. That was a little bit about you and the foundation of who you intend to be so that your content can be more cohesive. And so you're effectively using your brand pillars. We're going to talk in part 2 about how to schedule, how do you decide what you're posting about today, but you've got a good foundation now of looking at the pillars Shannon led you through and now trying to figure out what is your goal for each pillar and what are you actually trying to say so that you can move toward your account being more cohesive no matter what you're talking about and so that you know how you're trying to make people feel. That is one of the most important things you can do because consistency across that will remind people of who you are. They'll be like, oh, she always makes me feel like this, or I need advice on this, or I need resources on this. I can go to her because I see that that's what she does. You just want to remind people that that's what you're there for. So we are going to then move on to this worksheet here. If you don't have it, I just put the link to the Google doc in the comments. So you can take a look at that. And we're going to figure out, who are you talking to? So it's well and good to be consistent on social media, to understand who you're talking to know what your pillars are. But if you do not have an audience, that is not going to work out. So one of the things I hear all the time about running your business on social media is, well, my friends and family are not interested. And I'm just going to tell you the Lord's honest truth. If you want to run your business on social media, even partially, you are going to have to get out of your friends and family immediately. And I would tell you the same thing from back in the day when I was doing parties. It doesn't really make any difference. You immediately need to leave your friends and family. Nobody has enough friends and family to run a really substantial business. You probably have enough for a hobbyish business to make a little bit, particularly in the beginning, but is not enough to sustain you in something that is more substantial. So that is not a criticism of you or your friends and family. It's just the way it is. You want to find more people. And so if you want to run social media business, one of the things you'll be doing is working to find those people. So you need to figure out who you're trying to talk to. So on the worksheet, the first question is, who are you trying to serve? And you can do this a couple of ways. I want to brainstorm with you guys now here, but I also want you guys to take what Pam taught us about ChatGPT and input these questions into ChatGPT and let it think of some more niche down audience for you. Let them think of the answers to some of these questions, because they actually know the answers to these questions and we're only guessing at the answers to these questions. So on the front of the worksheet, it's, how old is your ideal client? For a long time, I was really resistant to niching down. I was like, well, why wouldn't I want everybody? Who's my audience? Everybody. If you have a pulse, you're my audience. Well, yes, that's who I want as my clients. That is probably not who I can effectively speak to. After doing this for a long time, I will tell you, you can only effectively speak to the people who feel like you're their person. And bad news is, you are not going to be everybody's person. You are just not. No matter how hard you try, that's okay. So you may as well just now decide, who are you really trying to talk to? I don't know if you guys follow No Shame Sales Game, Colleen Nichols. She's really excellent about teaching social media. And one of the things she says is, when you're acting like a weirdo on social media, it's because you're not talking to somebody. You're talking to like the general public. You need to talk to like your best friend. So who are you trying to speak to? How old are they? What do they do in their off time? The more detailed you can get on this, the better your content is going to be. Again, ChatGPT can be really helpful. So you can input something like, help me find an audience of women who are 40 years old, care about their health, are interested in making sustainable health choices. How do they spend their free time? You can ask it that and it will tell you and give you suggestions. And when you know things like that, then maybe let's say it's walking on the beach. You can include things about walking on the beach, or I found a new sunscreen. It will help you think of more and better content when you know who you're trying to talk to. So I maybe am talking to 40-something-year-old homeschool moms who have a lot of children at home. They don't have a lot of time for themselves. They don't have access to a lot of resources. They're not getting a lot of medical help. They maybe have not been to the doctor in years because they don't have time and no one can take the baby, right? Maybe that's who I'm talking to. And then I'm able to say, here are some things you can do from home. I'm able to remember then that lots of homeschool moms don't have a lot of income. So I might remember then to give cost-free or lower income suggestions for things that I do, to remember that not everybody can spend all of this money every month, if that's my niche. You might have a totally different niche. It might be country club moms who have got nothing but money. So you're not going to bring up discounts and pricing ever. It doesn't make sense for you then. This is just a way to help your content make sense for them. So what profession are they in? And then who are they trying to serve? That is a really interesting question, because you think that only goes with people who have a business, but in reality, everybody is on social media for a reason. So are they on social media because they want grandma to see pictures? Are they on social media because they need some kind of validation back? Are they lonely? Do they need community? Everybody's hanging out on social media for some reason. And when you know what their goal is, again, you can speak to them a lot more easily. So same deal. Do they have kids? Do they own a company? Do they work for somebody else? All of that kind of stuff. And then on the second page is, again, where ChatGPT is gold. Don't try to think yourself of what hashtags they may be using. You don't know. I don't know. Harness the power of the internet. That robot has trolled all corners of the internet, and it knows exactly what hashtags your specific ideal audience member is looking for. And you should ask it so that you can start using them, right? You should start using keywords that are what they're asking for, but you don't have to figure this out yourself. You are just going to ask and they will just tell you. But just thinking through that, thinking about what accounts they're following. I am always surprised at who my ideal audience follows. And here's why, because it's not who I'm interested in. It's really tempting to make your ideal audience member you. And they might be a lot like you. And it's nice if they are, because then you know you have things to say, but they're not exactly going to be you. So my audience, like my biggest group of preferred clients, love following things like living in yellow or like Facebook deals for moms, like all kinds of stuff. I kind of think that stuff's generic. I'm not that interested in it. I don't think her style is that good. Almost all of my PCs I see commenting on her account constantly. And I'm like, okay. This person does not have to be exactly you, but knowing what large accounts they follow is helpful, because then you can comment on them as well. And it helps people find you. The more that you comment on larger accounts, good, thoughtful, well thought out comments, not like so cute, the more that people will start to follow you because they see you're somebody who's out there adding value. You like what they like. I try to be funny. That's my thing. You guys might not be, like, humor might not be your thing at all. You got to be yourself. But the more you can comment on the larger accounts that they're commenting on and they're following, the more they will start to follow you. One of the things that we're really guilty of now, there's a pendulum in social media, right? I'm very, very, very big on create over consume, right? So one of the things I say to myself all the time is, Shannon, stop scrolling. Like, I do not want to be on there using my dead time to scroll social media. It's not helpful to me. I get too much input and then I forget what I'm trying to say, who I am. I get overwhelmed. I think my stuff sucks. And then I just want to not do it. Right. But in the need to create, not consume, you sometimes forget that you need to be out there being social on social media. And that's something I am super guilty of. I'm like really good at posting. I'm a super consistent poster. I obviously answer all the comments on my own stuff. I obviously answer all my DMs, but you know what I don't always do? I don't go looking for people to comment on. But as soon as I started doing that regularly, I had a lot more strangers following me. The people I don't know at all, who are genuinely cold market people, not from sending them weird and creepy messages, not any of that, but from really being invested in what they're invested in. Are they on social media and they're posting a lot about their kids' school life? Are they posting a lot about their job? Are they posting a lot about, I don't know, their husband's a farmer like mine? Am I commenting on their stuff? Am I involved in their life at all? Or am I hoping they're going to get involved in my life and I don't care about them at all? What I do on social media is a very one-sided relationship, and that does not work. Even though, again, I 1,000,000% believe your goal should be creating over consuming, you still have to do the social part of social media in order for people to follow you. I resisted that idea for a long time, but that's where the larger accounts comes in. That's where thoughtful comments on other people's accounts come in. But the thing is, it can't be Arbonne people. So one of the things that I've had to do, as much as I love you all, is I have had to hide a lot of Arbonne people, because when your entire feed is full of people who are, let's say, just like vice presidents in Arbonne, you're never getting to see everyone who you're trying to talk to. We don't need to talk to each other. We do plenty of talking to each other, probably too much talking to each other. We need to be following people who are nothing to do with Arbonne, not in network marketing at all. They could be, but maybe they're not, right? Maybe they have some kind of fitness business. Maybe they have some kind of macros business. Maybe they just like to talk about their workouts. And we need to start commenting and participating in those people's lives and actually trying to build relationships with those people. Because what happens when your feed is full of Arbonne is you think everybody sees everything in Arbonne all the time. You think everybody's content is better than yours. You can't be successful because look at this girl. Look at how she does it. I could never do it like that. So I can't run a business on social media, because it's not necessary. It's not necessary. It's a huge distraction for you. So if you can clean up your feed to just people you have genuine relationships with, or even put them in a little close friends group. So like, yes, of course, I still want to see Tori stuff. I want to see Danielle and Nikki stuff. Of course I do, because we're actually friends. But do I need to see every MVP stuff? I don't. If I don't have a personal relationship with them, it's not helpful and it does not help me grow my business. So unless you're genuinely inspired by seeing that stuff, go ahead, hide all of it. Because like Kimberly's saying, it makes you believe that your audience sees as much Arbonne stuff as you do. And they absolutely do not. They do not. It's a discouraging thing to you. So go ahead and hide all of that. And that way you're going to refresh what Instagram shows you as well. Because you want in your Explore page to be all kinds of people who have nothing to do with Arbonne, so that you can find them, start building relationships with them, looking for larger accounts who might be inspiring to you, and doing that social part of social media that really helps you find those followers that have nothing to do with you yet, who are totally cold market without having to do the creepy ass messages that I know none of us are doing anymore and we're all done with. Okay. So then the very last page of this worksheet is just putting it all together. And I will say, I think this is a job for ChatGPT, 1,000,000%. I do not think you should sit here and write a paragraph, but I think you should do exactly what it says at the top, using the information you've gotten both from brainstorming and also from feeding some of these prompts into AI, and say, my target client is what? And then fill that in. Who serves who? Who looks for hashtags like what, but also likes hashtags like and follows people like these big accounts. They like to comment on topics like this. Feed this entire prompt into ChatGPT after you're done with the littler parts of it, right? And then see what pops out. See who they think you're going to, see who they think you should be talking to, you should be finding, what kind of things they're into that you might not be talking about, right? I'm not into tennis. A lot of people are. It might be great for you. Just those little tiny things where I didn't research this part. Sorry, guys. Now I'm going to search for a word. There's a name for it. It's kind of like cultural capital. It's how you see a Gucci belt and you're like, oh. It's how you see a brand name of a person. You're like, oh, I know what that is. There's all kinds of things like that for all different niches, right? Some people know what this little homeschool group thing is. Some people know what this symbol on a hat means. It makes them feel like they're part of a group they belong to a group. And if you belong to the group too, you guys are, it's like an easy way for them to feel more comfortable with you. It's these little tiny signals that you put out that make people be like, oh, she's my kind of people. So this is just the beginning. This is part one. We're going to do a part two. I'm not sure when it's going to be. We're working out the final schedule for you guys. That's more like, how do I schedule this stuff? How do I talk about my pillars? What all that kind of little stuff you guys have. If you guys have specific questions that you really hope we talk about, please send those to us so that we're doing these skills sessions in a way that serves you, not just what we think might serve you, but will actually serve you guys and what you actually want to learn about. But my whole goal is that you feel like a professional on your social media. So instead of feeling like you are flying by the seat of your pants, you are like, I have a foundation. I know what I talk about. I know the reasons I'm talking about it. I know how I want people to leave that post or video feeling, and it's cohesive without you trying. The more you can get all your stuff into a state of flow so that you don't have to think about it anymore. I don't think anymore about posting every day. I brush my teeth every day. I wash my face every day. I put something up on social media every day. On a good day, I put up more than one thing on social media a day. It doesn't even feel hard to me anymore because I've gotten into a state of flow with it. I am never at a loss for content. If you take your 5 pillars and you really think through the questions on that orange worksheet, you will probably never be at a loss for content, because there is so much that falls under what you want to tell people and how you want people to feel when they're on your account. And the more you can make them feel the way you want them to feel, the more that they feel like you get them, they know your personality, they trust who you're going to show up as when you're there. That's a big thing for people. People are burnt the heck out. They are tired. They do not want to show up at your account and get kind of like double whammy by something they didn't expect. They need to know what they're getting when they get you, right? I don't want to be disappointed. I just said to my daughter today, if Ina Garten ever turns out to be a bad person, nobody tell me. I do not want to know another person who I think is awesome turns out to be a horrible person. That's what people are thinking about us too. They want you to be awesome. They want to feel good and inspired and empowered and positive when they're at your account. So that's our goal here. So that when you're looking at your month and you're looking at your year, you know what's coming. You feel like you have a plan for your social media that is good and that you're actually a professional, like a business, instead of waking up every day and be like, oh crap, it's Wednesday. And also there's Black Friday stuff. And also it's Thanksgiving. And also, so it's just a lot of freedom to let a lot of stuff go that you know you will not be posting about. It might be cool, might be funny, might be somebody else's wheelhouse. It's not yours. Totally great. There's so much freedom and having a cohesive plan and resting on the foundation that you're building now. So take this time now to do it so that when the first of the year comes, you feel like you are coming into this with a plan. You understand who you are, you understand your goals, and you understand how you're going to work toward your goals so that you do not have to constantly be jumping on the next thing that's trending. You know where you're going and you know it will work because you are going to do it for a consistent amount of time. That is what takes the time to work. It does not work on day one. So when you know you're going into it like that and you're in this for the long haul, it's a really great way to be able to build this part of your business without feeling like you're fumbling around in the dark, because you don't have to be. Okay, so that's what we have for you today on this part. There will be a part 2, so make sure you let us know the questions that you need for this. Also, make sure you let us know more questions about ChatGPT. Pam is going to come back and do a part 2 on that. Shannon's going to come back and do a part 2 on building your email funnels. So we've got a lot of second parts coming for you. So if you've got questions about any of those things, all of that is coming before the end of the year. Then starting at the beginning of the year, we're going to move you into more of the details, how to build things on Canva, right? All those things that you want to know about, but we need to get your foundation lined up first. So that's kind of our roadmap for where we're going. Every week, come back, and hopefully you guys will be learning to do the things that you really want to learn how to do. And we're going to try to give you as much time as possible to work through things, but you will have some homework sometimes. Try to take the time to get that done, even if it's 10 minutes. 10 minutes is better than not doing anything at all. I'm super guilty of believing if I can't do it 1000%, then I shouldn't do it at all. And it's not true. So make sure you come back every week, get your stuff done. Go back to ChatGPT, put some of your stuff in, see what happens. I am super curious to see what it comes back at. Come tell us, okay? All right. Happy Thanksgiving, you guys.